everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. Here at our channel, we love to review the latest movies. We talk about the latest trailers. We do unboxing videos for the new releases and also do giveaways to show our appreciation to you all. And like today, we also break down our favorite TV shows. So if that sounds like something you would enjoy, well, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and make sure you're hitting that notification bell to stay up to date with our latest videos. So today, I have a non-spoiler review for the Netflix part 2 of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I know it's a couple days late, had a busy weekend, stuff with work, but I'm here to give you guys my non-spoiler thoughts on part 2 of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. But before I get into the good, the bad, give you my score of what I thought the season was, or part 2 of the season, and ultimately let you know if it's worth binging. Start doing your commenting now. Let me know which season you preferred. If you've seen season 2, let me know if you like 1 over 2 or 2 over 1, or part 1 over 2 or part 2 over 1. Let me know in the comments, guys. Let's create some dialogue around that. But with that being said, let's jump into this non-spoiler review of part 2 of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Alright, so if you've seen my movie reviews, my TV reviews are slightly different. I don't really do the same type of format, but what I am going to touch on is some character moments I enjoy, what episodes I like, the good and bad of the part 2 as a whole. And again, like I said, at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you guys my score of this second half of the first season. So jump into my review here. Let's start off with the important things, which are the characters. So starting off top, I gotta start with the lead of this show, who plays Sabrina. I've been watching her since she was a little kid on Mad Men, one of my favorite shows, and it's just crazy to see her, growing up now and leading the show, and she does such a great job of doing so. This second half of Sabrina really demands a lot of her. Again, first part of the season, part 1 was great. But the second part really dives deep into this character. She has so much to do in this second part, where she has to be vulnerable, she has to be funny, she has to be evil, dementic. There's so many levels to her character, and she plays it off and just shows so many different abilities, shows her acting chops in this second half. And again, not saying that the first act or the first half of the season, the part 1 of the season wasn't great, but this second half really demands a lot of her, and I thought that she landed on all of the things that was required of her, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what her character has to do, because I believe this season, or this show, has been renewed up to 4 seasons, so it'll be really interesting to see what else we get with Sabrina. But just alone for part 2, her character goes through a lot, and I think that Sabrina has a really good arc, and I thought that the character was just phenomenal throughout the beginning all the way to the end. Some other characters who happen to be my favorite characters on the show: the aunties. Aunt Zelda and Hilda are so great. They're played beautifully by the 2 actresses. Their arc is great. They have a little bit of a role reversal without getting too much into details, but normally, Zelda, well, she is very aggressive, and she's very, stern and straight to the point. And Hilda's a little bit more preserved, but sometimes throughout the season, those roles are kind of switched and those lines are kind of blurred, and I really enjoyed that kind of role reversal. But I just love these characters. And again, you get new love interests for both characters. We get some things where they have to sit down or put their foot down, and maybe they kill a couple people to get what they need to get done, but I really enjoyed the aunties. Again, those are 2 of my favorite characters on the show. But some other characters that I really enjoyed was Ambrose. He had a lot to do this season, more so than I think he did in part 1. He has a really interesting character arc, and he goes through a lot in this season. Prudence had some interesting stuff to do this season. She has some really interesting moments and some moments that were very questionable, but I think by the end of the season, you can see how she got there, and I thought the show did a good job of doing so. Nick had a lot to do this season. Nicholas, won't get too much into his character, but I was really surprised by what we got from him this season, and his chemistry between him and Sabrina, to me, works better than Sabrina and Harvey, which might be an unpopular opinion, but I think Nick and Sabrina are a little bit more, have better chemistry in my opinion. Friends, Harvey does. Harvey, Roz, and Susie, who has some interesting things that she goes through in the season, has some moments, but I think the second act serves them better as characters than the first act does. But again, I thought as a whole, they had a pretty good, moments throughout the season. And I also have to mention Father Blackwood does a lot of stuff this season that's very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see where his character lands when we get season 2. And then Mrs. Wardell has a lot of stuff she throws at us. We all know what season 1 gave us as far as her character and what she's up to with Sabrina, but she has a very interesting backstory, and we get a little bit more of her. She has a little love interest, and we see where that goes. Her and her relationship with the Dark Lord is expanded upon a lot more in this second half of the season, and I really enjoyed her arc. So now I'll get into some of the storylines, which again, not spoiling anything, but just touching on just summarizing kind of the breaking down the episodes. So, the first 3 episodes, the first 3 chapters that we get in the season, I'm not going to lie to you guys, was a little uneven for me personally. And that kind of goes with, comes with the territory. Again, when you're coming back from, we had our winter episode, but, that was back in December. And now 4 months later, you kind of got to get people up to speed, let you know what this person's been doing, what this person's been doing, where we're at, and, in the storyline. And I get that, but some of the stuff we got just didn't work for me. Personally, more or less the supporting characters and more particularly the mortal aspect of the first half of the season didn't really work. I really appreciate what they were doing with, Roz and giving her more to do, and Harvey, I feel like he doesn't have that much to do into the second act, but also Susie, she has a very interesting storyline, and I appreciate the show. I love when shows and movies give representing different cultures, different genders, and have different things to say. I really appreciate that, but I felt like what we got with Susie was just a little bit uneven in the sense of, we go from here 0 all the way to 100, and then we touch on things and then we never address them again. So it was just interesting. I feel like Harvey and Susie in particular this season really were just, I don't want to say they were just kind of thrown into the story, but I felt like at times their plot and their storyline wasn't really that well thought out, in my opinion, and that kind of made the first 3 episodes or the first 3 chapters a little uneven, because it was just like I was really, really interested in the academy aspect and the warlocks and the witches, but then when we switched back around to the mortal aspect and her friends, that's where the show just kind of took a dip for me personally. Interesting moments within the first 3 episodes, from engagements to new creatures and werewolves, we get Valentine's Day and all these different things, but another thing that just didn't really sit well with me, in particularly the first 3 chapters, was everyone was in love. Nothing wrong with love. I love love. I love to love, but it was just like everyone had a relationship going on. And that's where, knowing that the show kind of comes from the CW, type of background and in Riverdale, that's when the show kind of really played to that aspect more so than the darker kind of satanic, really demonic stuff that they normally are known for. But, that relationship stuff really kind of compromise some of the characters in my opinion. I'm here to say, for me personally, chapters 4 to 9, and in these chapters I'm saying 4 to 9, these chapters are probably like 15 to 19, but the second half of part 2 really, really hit for me, and particularly episode 4 and on, or chapter 4 and on, when we have the tarot scene and they kind of, give the future of some of these characters, or foreshadowing per se, really kind of it was almost like a standalone episode, but then 5 and 6 and 7 from on just really kind of hit for me. We get things, where I think the switch for me is when we didn't get mortals, which was the episode after the tarot episode, where we get more in depth with what's going on with the Academy, what's going on with Sabrina, a little bit more of background. That's where the season really kind of picked up to me. And then once we got all that going, and then we pushed in the mortal characters and they had some more things to do and some more interesting things to do, that's where the season really kind of picked up for me personally. Kind of touching on some other things that I liked about this second part was the themes really kind of shine through in the season. They do this in the first half where they talk about, women empowerment, equality, things of that nature, but they do that plus some in this second half, and I really appreciate it. At times, it was a little bit on the nose, but for the most part, I thought it kind of organically fit within the storyline. Again, they touch on women empowerment. They touch on equality, gender equality, embracing who you are as a person. And those are just kind of looking at my notes here. Those are some things that really kind of stood out for me in the season. And I like when a show like this has the time and puts in the time to kind of touch on those topics that some shows just kind of shy away from or really don't bring up at all. So I really kind of like that aspect. We do get some more from the Dark Lord in this season, a lot more, I will say, without getting too much in depth. And I kind of like his aspect of the story. And also another thing that I really think, a theme that really kind of hit as far as a positive, was the idea of wanting to be a part of a family that doesn't necessarily want you to be a part of it, but then also just embracing what you do have, appreciating the family and friends that you're surrounded with, whether that be Sabrina looking for something in her family, but not, appreciating Ambrose and, her aunties, or for example, Prudence, she, as we know from the winter episode and in part 1, she has some reveals about who her real father is and her wanting to take that name, but not appreciating her weird sisters, which they have a lot to do this season. So I like that aspect of, again, people looking for family or looking for happiness, but it's right there in front of them the whole time. So I like that aspect, but not to make the turn on the sour patch. But there were some negative things that didn't really sit well for me. Again, I had mentioned a little bit, but I feel like outside of Roz, I think Roz has some interesting storylines, but when it comes to Harvey and again Susie, I feel like this season in particularly, they tried to give them something to do, but for me, it just was not interesting. With not getting too much into Susie, but she's transitioning into a new phase in her life, and she wants to do things, and she changes her name, and I won't get into all that, but I felt like the heart was there, but the execution didn't work. And the same goes with Harvey. Again, they give him a new love interest. It is a separate love triangle outside of Sabrina, Nick, and Harvey. And I thought that worked, but it didn't feel necessarily earned. It felt kind of rushed at times. Some other things that kind of stood out to me as far as a negative was, I felt like the loving aspect, people fall in love and relationships and marriages and all that stuff, kind of compromised some of these strong characters that we know of. And it felt like it was out of character for them to really kind of dive in love with a person so quickly. Again, I can understand that when there's the teenagers involved, they're 16-year-olds, they think that they're in love with anyone that smiles at them at sometimes, but some of the adult characters who we thought were strong and really independent, which they still were, but I felt like they compromised some of their character moments when they, made them fall in love so quickly. And, Hilda, for example, has this boyfriend that we're introduced to, and we, they have their moments, but then we don't see him for the rest of the season. I thought it was just kind of some moments where plot holes didn't really work out. We introduced these new threats, and it kind of at times some of the episodes felt like the villain of the week. We get this one, I won't get into depth, but there's this witch hunting crew that comes about in this one episode, which is one of my favorite episodes. And when Sabrina does the thing that she does was awesome, but we get them and then we don't get much of them after. So there's some plot holes that didn't really work for me. And again, I can kind of nitpick a lot of things. I don't want to dive too deep into that because that video would be a much longer than I expected it to be. But another thing that doesn't work, and this might just be me, but the relationship between Harvey and Sabrina just don't work for me. I think they're better as friends. I think that Nick and Sabrina have much more chemistry on screen, in my opinion, and not necessarily the acting, but I just feel like their chemistry, they just play off of each other much better to me than they do with Harvey and Sabrina. But, kind of wrapping up here, I will say there were some cool things that I really enjoyed. I want to reiterate, episodes from the tarot episode to the finale was really great television, really entertaining, very invested in what was going on. But I will say I really enjoyed the references that we got in the season, from things from X-Men to Halloween to Descent. There were some really cool pop culture moments throughout the season that I really enjoyed. But kind of wrapping up this video, because as you can see, had a lot of positives, had some negatives, but at the end of the day, I really enjoyed part 2 of Sabrina. I think season 1 or part 1 works a little bit better. It was a better, tighter script, and they had a little bit easier time from getting point A to point Z. But again, part 2 is still great. I'm giving it a 4.4 out of 5. I thought that the CGI got better. They did a lot better job of taking out that blurriness that they had in season 1, where it was just very distracting. Really good character moments, really good themes, really good messages that I thought that they had in the season, and it was very edge of your seat type of moments in the season. Some really badass moments that we get from our favorite characters and some new characters. So all in all, 4.4 out of 5. I recommend you guys checking it out. If you enjoyed season 1, you will definitely enjoy season 2, at least in my opinion. But I would love to know what you guys thought of season 2 without spoiling anything for those that haven't seen it yet. Let me know some of your favorite episodes, some of your favorite characters, what you're looking forward to for season 2, which will probably be out in October. So let me know in the comments, guys. As always, thank you for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up, share this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media accounts. Keep an eye out for some more content coming pretty soon. We'll see you guys on the next video.